We're joined now by Dr. Charles Zelden, a political science expert from Nova Southeastern University. And Dr. Zelden, this is getting pretty interesting, right?
It is.
What did you make of the opening statements by the president's legal team?
Well, they don't have a very easy case to argue. Essentially, their case is negative. Whatever he did wasn't wrong, and if it was wrong, it wasn't bad. And if it wasn't bad, it was not something you can be impeached for. So most of their arguments, most of their efforts focused on muddying the waters, trying to minimize the arguments made by the Democrats, by the House managers. And that's not an easy thing to argue. It's much easier to argue when you have facts on your side that you can bring up. The problem is the detailed facts seem to imply that at the very least the president did something inappropriate. Whether it's impeachable is a whole other argument. But at the very least, inappropriate, except the president is unwilling to accept that argument. So they couldn't argue it.
Did the president's lawyers inadvertently also make the case for witnesses by saying that they needed more information to come forward? Yes,
they did, actually. And they also made it easier to bring out the information from these witnesses because by raising these issues in the well of the Senate or by the president tweeting, they've effectively said this isn't something that needs to be hidden away. This is something that's private between the individual and the president. It's something we talked about publicly. So they made a case effectively saying we need more information. Well, it may not be the information that they want that'll come in, but ultimately that pushes for bringing in witnesses, and once you let in one witness, there's a whole bunch of other witnesses that can come in as well.
And so now, speaking about information, now the trial is going to enter a whole new phase, this question and answer period, and I think we have a shot of the card that the senators will be using to submit their questions. Looks pretty simple right there, right? Put in your senator, what's your name, and then what's your question. What are the questions that you can think the senators will come up with?
Well, I think you'll see senators ask process questions about the process of impeaching the president. They'll ask questions about the details from both sides. And ultimately, I think the Democrats will ask questions that will allow the House managers to rebut the president's lawyers, and the Republicans will ask questions of the Republican lawyers to emphasize the strong suits that they brought in their arguments.
What a surprise.
Yeah, it's still a debate between political parties over what the outcome should be.
Sure.
And well, if the senators walk away from this process without calling a single witness, namely John Bolton, what does that say and what kind of precedent does it set?
Well, in terms of precedent, every presidential impeachment has been unique. The pressures, the situation, the crimes have been unique. But what it will say is, or at least allow the Democrats to argue, is this was a cover-up. They weren't interested in hearing the facts. They weren't interested in finding out what really happened. They weren't interested in taking the people who were in the room where it happened and putting them under oath so that they couldn't lie. And that's going to be a tough argument to fight against come November. And they know it.
Yeah, and if that book comes out in a couple months with some revelations, that those accusations of a cover-up will become even stronger.
Very.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Charles Zelden, thank you very much.
Glad to be here.
Good to see you. And as lawmakers on Capitol Hill transition to the next phase of the impeachment trial, stay with CBS 4 News on air and online for the very latest.